Hello. Hi guys, I'm just waiting for Vanita to request to come on. Just a couple of more minutes and Vanita will be on. Hello. Hi, Dr. Zama Aesthetics. Hello, Simona. Hey, Enrique, Michael, Deepa. Hey, hearts, also Deepa, hearts. Okay, still waiting. Hello, hi Sujata. I think if maybe we could send Vanita a message to say that I am also waiting. She said she's ready, so just waiting for, hey, Joe. Hi, Vanita. Just typing to her. Hey, Enrique. Yes, no, I hope so. So I'm just sending Vanita a message because she is ready and we're just waiting for her. Oh. Hello. Hello. Hey, Vanita. Okay, let me just check. Yeah.
It's working.
Okay, how are you, Vanita? Thank you so much for joining us today. Hello.
Yeah, I'm at home.
I think it's everybody all over the world right now, so it's okay. Hello. And you are? Laura, hello. You're going to help us out today with the interview.
I know. So put the lights on. It's a little bit dark. Let's put the lights on.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Okay.
Okay, it's a bit lighter.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for joining us, Vanita. So, Dr. Vanita Rattan is an award-winning global expert on hyperpigmentation, the head of the Hyperpigmentation Clinic in London, hugely respected, hugely knowledgeable, and I'm so chuffed that she's here to chat to us today. Thank you. And so, Vanita, I know you guys are also on lockdown in the UK. How has it been for you?
So, I feel like it's the same everywhere. When I talk to my distributors in different parts of the world, I'm talking to China and Italy and all the people I work with, we're all going through the same thing at the same time, which is actually quite bonding. So I remember I was asking my Chinese manufacturers advice before we went into lockdown. So what are the things that are going to be hardest for us? How do you get food? How do you go shopping? And one tip he gave me actually was make sure you look like you're going into surgery when you go shopping. So you go in with your mask, you go in with your gloves. Because you know what it's this like signaling mechanism to everybody around you to say, I'm taking this seriously. Stay away from me.
Yes, I think that works. And I don't think anyone really cares what they look like anymore. It's become so normal just to go to the shops and speak to people with shields on and masks and all of that. Yeah. But thank you. So today, we're going to talk about hyperpigmentation. So we have a couple of doctors on and we have quite a few patients as well. If you can break down what hyperpigmentation is for us, because some people don't know.
Okay. So basically, if you look at the skin structure, the main two layers in the epidermis top layer and the dermis below. Between the two is where the melanocytes live. Those are cells producing the pigment melanin. They look a little bit like octopuses. They've got dendrites and legs, and that's the powerhouse of making melanin. Now, what happens is when those cells become hyperactive and they produce too much pigment, that's when you see hyperpigmentation on the skin. And that's what people find distressing. So that's all hyperpigmentation is hyperactive melanocyte.
And, we're going to go through it a bit now, but hyperpigmentation is such a huge, complex subject. What drove you to focus on it? Like, why has it become such a passion of yours?
You know what? I was very fortunate. My parents owned a cosmeceutical company and we had our own laboratory. And I did 2 degrees. I did medicine and physiology pharmacology. And, when you become a doctor in your family, everyone starts asking you questions. Like, that's the first thing that happens. I used to get asked a lot by the females in my family about pigmentation. And I started researching and I thought, I don't think I can actually recommend anything that's available because laser, glycolic TCA, hydroquinone, these things can burn even more pigmentation. It's just not worth it. What's the point of doing something where the reaction could be worse than the original problem? So I remember discussing this with my parents, and my dad's a doctor as well. My mom's a pharmacist. And I said I want to create a professional grade treatment that would treat dark pigmentation in Asian and African skin without burning the skin. And, I think at the beginning I was a little bit cocky and I thought, oh, this is going to be easy. How hard can it be? And honestly, it was one of the hardest things I think I've ever done. I just kept failing for years. I kept failing. I kept going in and failing. And originally it was failing because I could not stabilize such a high percentage of actives in an acid. It's extremely difficult to do. And once we managed to break that barrier, it was then how do you treat the skin without burning the skin and get good results? So that whole process took me about 5 years. But I'm glad I stuck with it. But honestly, there were times that it did break me in that whole process.
Yeah, because back then it wasn't, even though most of the world is brown, or most of the world, over 80% of the world has darker skin, most of the treatments weren't for darker skin. And it was probably very difficult, especially to be a pioneer, starting with trying to, what you had available, research-wise and ingredient-wise, to try and, rectify the problem. And in terms of pigmentation, there's so many different causes, and there's different kinds of pigmentation caused by autoimmune diseases, melasma. What would you say would be the most common types, and if you can differentiate between a bit of the different pigmentations?
The way I like to classify it is extrinsic and intrinsic factors. So extrinsic factors are external, things that happen to you. So for example, a bite mark, a burn, a chemical peel that burns you, an oil spill, a scratch, a UV radiation on the skin is one of the largest for melasma. So those are extrinsic factors. And you've got intrinsic factors, things that happen internally. So those would be things like acne, hormonal issues that can happen during menopause, pregnancy, any type of dermatitis. So eczema, lichen planus, those are the most popular causes of pigmentation. So I like to differentiate it that way. But ultimately, even though there are lots of different causes of pigmentation, the pathology is the same. And that basically means that the melanocyte becomes triggered and it starts spitting out too much pigmentation, too much melanin into the cells around it, the keratinocytes, which come to the surface, and you see the pigmentation. So it doesn't even matter so much what the cause is. First, you have to block the trigger. So it's good to identify it so you can block the trigger.
Yes.
What you want to do is calm down the melanocyte. I'll talk about that a little bit later. And the third thing, you want to increase the shed rate of the skin. And you do those 3 things together, not only will you treat the pigmentation, you'll prevent it from coming back again.
Yes, because pigmentation is a reaction to inflammation. inflammation around the melanocyte. And I know we're going back to when you did a bit of a lecture at Cosmetica to protect the skin initially, with sun photo protection. So not just only sun protection, UVA, UVB light, but there's a huge, there's a lot of visible light as well that's coming through. And besides that, also, like as you say, calming the cell down with tyrosinase inhibitors, and then I think when people think of pigmentation, especially people want a quick fix, and when you say shed the skin, often people think one quick peel and all that pigmentation that's stuck in the skin, that the melanocyte has already I don't want to say spewed out, but has distributed to all the keratinocytes, all the skin. And it's difficult to treat because that's like a full thickness issue, and also dermal pigmentation. It's so complicated. So yes, I'd like to unpack that a bit. And then in terms of pigmentation, you have quite a process, your dark circle treatment. So when we're talking, not a quick fix, can you, break it down for us, the commitment that's needed to treat this issue? And I had a question also about, is pigmentation, can you permanently get rid of it? That was one of the other questions.
A number of times, doctor, that I've heard that in my clinic. It's like, if it goes, it will be gone forever. And the first thing that comes into my mind is we are living organisms. The skin is a living organ. How can you say, okay, so I lose weight, and does that mean I never have to go to the gym again? You're just like, you have to maintain. I would love to say yes. You get thin and you're thin forever. I wish, but no, you have to work on it. And that means that for skin of color, our melanocytes, once they've been triggered, they've been taught to how to respond at that level, how to produce melanin at that rate, right? Now, these cells, yes, you can retrain them to slow down. Oh, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, people are waving, so I'm just waving back.
You can train them to slow them down, but you don't block that trigger, they will be triggered again. 100% they will be triggered again. So that means that, for example, if melasma is your issue, you must 100% block UV. Now, the problem with blocking UV is that when you put sunblock on your skin, people put their makeup on and they think, oh, I don't want to put more sunblock on throughout the day. I'm going to look silly and my makeup's going to come off, etc. And so what happens is I put it on at 8 in the morning, and by 10 a.m., they're completely exposed, ready for afternoon sun to hit them in the face and trigger their melanocytes. So if UV is the issue with melasma, you need to be religious about it, militant about it. Every 2 hours you need to put it on. It's not optional. It's not around.
Yes. So a lot of counseling that goes into before you even start the treatment, because a lot of the work is done by the patient at home. And I'll never forget at Cosmetica, you were doing the lecture, and there might have been about 80 doctors there, and you're like, and we know you should reapply the sunscreen every 2 hours. So you asked us who does, and no one said anything. And that's us telling people, so it is very important. And the important thing is, if you can also touch on it, about the difference between mineral sunblocks and chemical sunblocks, like the filter. So obviously one is the physical barrier, especially with melasma, so you don't want to have any heat generation with the chemical barrier. And there's some really nice ones. I saw you use the Color Science. That's also very nice for, like you mentioned, makeup. And people don't want to mess up their makeup and put on some sunblock. So that is quite a good option. So if you can go through that, and also the physical barrier, if you can bring out your cool glasses.
I need to tell my daughter to go down and get them again.
Oh, yes, no.
Basically, what it is, so as you said, sunblocks are divided into two, chemical and physical. I'm actually launching a video of next week that goes into a lot of detail on this on my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Vanita Rattan, which is dedicated to skin color. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll teach you everything about skin of color and the ingredients that are suitable for us. But to answer your question, if you have melasma, you should not be wearing a chemical sunblock. Because if you have melasma, you can't afford to have any thermal energy on your skin. And that's what happens. UV will break down the bond, benzoate bond, and that will create thermal energy on your skin. And so I would highly recommend anyone who has melasma to please wear a physical sunblock. And that's why I love Color Science. So one I wear, it's got zinc oxide in it. I'm wearing it right now under my makeup, and I top up with this brush on top all day. I'm releasing another video that I did last year on holiday, back in the good old days when we went in isolation, and then you can beating down, and I was popping up and filming for you. So I'll definitely release that video for you as well on how to top up throughout the day on top of your makeup to show you are fine, and it's very easy to do that.
There's so many questions that are coming through. One was the sunblock, like how much to put on. That's also, people don't put on enough sunblock. And then the other one was like, someone asked, and can you after treatment, then does that mean you can't wear makeup? So yes, you can wear makeup, but I know you do you do quite a good explanation about how much sunscreen you should wear. So sunscreen with titanium dioxide, zinc oxide, and iron oxide as well. How much sunscreen is enough for your face and your neck and exposed areas like your ears? People forget their ears.
They do, yeah. And they forget the hairline. That's the other area. So you always have a line of melasma here. So I use 1 teaspoon. Okay, so that's a lot. Literally, I will cover one finger and I'll cover half my face, and then another finger and I'll literally cover half my face. So it's 1 teaspoon. I put on a lot of sunblock. When I first put it on, it does look white. It does take about 5 minutes for it to settle. And then you put your makeup on top, and no one's going to know you're wearing sunblock, and you will feel better about it. In addition, what Dr. Anjana was talking about is actually we launched the world's first anti-melasma sunglasses. So they are a physical block. They basically cover this entire area. I wish I brought it up. It's in my bag downstairs. But basically, it's a physical block. So when you're driving or you're walking, and you find it difficult to top up every 2 hours, then this is basically a proper shield that covers a whole zygoma area, and 80% of our melasma starts here. And because of cell talk, once it starts here as little freckles, it will spread here, and it will spread to the upper lip, and then on the nose, and then it just spreads across the whole face.
Yeah. You're going to laugh at me because I drive around with this thing sometimes. So. It's like a full face.
I love that. I love it.
Oh, my daughter has one as well. So we look like Star Wars stormtrooper. and scrolling down, I know you probably touch on hydroquinone. Someone was concerned about hydroquinone. There's so many questions. I've got so many. I hope you don't mind. There's like loads of questions. Like notes here that people sent me as well. But in terms of hydroquinone, I know here we get it on a prescription only, and mostly at 2 to 4%. But I know in the States, there's one of the doctors, she goes up to 10% hydroquinone on pads. I know it's and recommended pulse dosing. But I know it's something I'm not keen on using, and a lot of people aren't keen on using, even though it's always been stated that it's the gold standard in terms of hyperpigmentation treatment. What are your recommendations in terms of hydroquinone?
See, I'm going to be very unpopular for saying this, and it was
it's okay. I mean, we all have different views, and a lot of people are a lot of doctors also don't like using it, actually. So
See, the thing is, I tell you, the people who come and see me are the ones who have used hydroquinone, and with skin of color, hydroquinone can be very harsh. And unfortunately, anything that irritates our melanocytes are going to make them, are going to trigger them. They're going to stimulate melanin. And you actually end up in a situation where you become dependent on it, because actually when you're on hydroquinone, you get very good results. It's a suppressor. You're almost stopping that melanocyte from working, but you have to come off of it because it will just destroy your skin. So you come off of it, and then that melanocyte is now raging because it's been under a lot of stimulation for months. And then that's when it starts, where you get rebound pigmentation, and pigmentation comes back worse. And people will say, oh, it's worse than it was before, and it's spread and it's darker than it was before. And that's very common. And by the time you get to that point, the pigmentation is much more resistant. And that's what I say to my clients. I say, at this point, this is rebound pigmentation. It's not even the original pigmentation. This is, it can take longer to treat. So I'd rather you did nothing than to do something that's going to make it worse. And don't forget, all of the treatments for pigmentation have been designed in the West by Caucasians for Caucasians, because they were designed 100 years ago, including laser, including peels, including hydroquinone.
Yes.
So imagine the cohort of the UK, for example, 100 years ago. They weren't doing it on Asians and Africans. They were doing the clinical trials on Caucasians. And then what ended up happening is the rest of the world just had to make do, because generally for skincare, a lot of the inventions happen in the West. So we have to be a little bit careful. That's my thought.
No, true. And I mean, the Klickman's formula has the cortisone in it and the hydroquinone, the tretinoin. So a lot of people abuse it. They get, like you say, they get addicted to the way it looks, and then almost, I suppose, besides onchronosis, permanent sensitivity damage, fuzzy hair growth, and it's so difficult to come back from that point. And someone is asking, so we'll get onto your dark circles. There's so many questions before we get onto your dark circles treatment, because someone's asking, I've heard of this weird thing before, this concealer tattoo, but we'll get into that. Another thing now that we're on darker skin patients, what's really common is that perioral pigmentation that's so difficult to treat. I know peels are like a no-go there. Sometimes they actually make it worse. What are your options for that area? What is best practice for that area?
Okay, right. So the ingredients that are very easy to get hold of that people can do over the counter that are good for pigmentation and skin of color. You might want to write this down. It's quite a long list.
Oh, okay. I'll go on.
3% alpha arbutin is very easy to get hold of. So The Ordinary does that, and it does in a formulation with 8% ascorbic acid. So those two are fine for skin of color. You're not going to burn. I would also recommend niacinamide 10%. I like their 10% plus 1%. I would also recommend things like kojic acid or azelaic acid. So azelaic acid 10 to 20% is good. Kojic acid about 1 to 2%. Now the thing is, there are lots of different tyrosinase inhibitors which are actually very good for our skin, but I would introduce them one at a time. So you wouldn't go in with everything all at once. I would start off maybe with 2% alpha arbutin and the 8% ascorbic acid plus 10% zinc, 10% niacinamide plus 1% zinc from The Ordinary. Just start with that and do that for 2 months or 3 months. It takes a long time to start to see results, plus moisturize that area as well. Now, if this isn't working, if over-the-counter products aren't working, that's when you need professional treatment. And so my aim is to, even with my YouTube channel, is to teach people how to do as much as they can at home before they get to a point where actually it's very stubborn and you need something much stronger. So the products that I use in the clinic have about 30% actives in them. And that's necessary when you're dealing with black pigmentation in dark skin. Anything less than that just isn't going to touch it. But what I would say is start off with what you can. Start off with what you've got access to and it's cheap to do. Do that first. And then if it doesn't work, then you come in for a professional treatment. So this year, for example, we've been asked so many times to start training doctors globally on our treatment, which we are going to start doing. So this year I'm going to start training everyone on dark circles first, because dark circles is a much easier treatment to learn and to do. And I feel like there literally is no one in the world treating periorbital pigmentation correctly with skin of color. So that's the first one. And Dr. Njana, you're going to be my first person in South Africa that I'm going to send you.
Awesome. Yay! That is so cool. You heard it here first. So I will be first. I think I spam Vanita's email box office. Like, please, yes, I would like, I'm interested in this. Yes, I'm interested in the training, like 100 times. So, what you're saying is so important. I often tell patients with anything, when you're talking about your treatment in clinic, your preparation at home, it's like if it's like running a marathon without doing any training, to do the preps at home. And I know your dark circles prep, and someone is talking about, I'm sure you've heard of those tattoos, those skin color tattoos to cover up dark circles, and I've never seen anything successful. I've seen a couple of that, and now that's like a semi-permanent tattoo in the area over darkened.
Might be wrong. I've seen it go look like someone actually scratched under the eyes. See, again, the skin here is so thin. It's 0.3 of a millimeter. It's the thinnest epidermis of the whole body. You can't.
Yes.
Be so careful, because imagine, if we rub our eyes too much from eczema or from allergies, they darken. So then going in with a tattoo I just would not recommend it. I'd rather you did nothing than that,
And then I know your treatment is more needling based, intense tyrosinase inhibitors, and long prep, and then long aftercare to get the results you want, and maybe more than one treatment to get those really excellent results. In terms of time, like how long is an expected treatment to take? Like how long does it take? In terms of, you've got a good success rate, but then what do you think are the factors where it doesn't really go the way the patient expected? And then why are you not into peels for the periocular around the eye area? Because, there's a popular peel in our country that we do use. It's a Spanish product, and it's a periocular peel, like on all sorts of skin, because we also have quite a diverse population like the UK. So if you can, sorry, that's a lot of questions, but if you can break down your dark circles philosophy for us. So I start from the first question. What was the first? The first question was, about, I don't know, the prep time and the length of time it takes to get that result. Yes. I'll remember the result. I'll ask you. Yeah.
No worries. Okay, so we say about 2 weeks of priming your dark circles. So we give you a cream to wear for 2 weeks. Then you come in for the treatment. On the day, you apply numbing cream 1 hour before. We treat the skin. We apply the mask. You go home with that mask on. You leave that mask on for 5 hours. And then you come in for the next treatment 12 weeks later. So basically, you come in for your treatment every 12 weeks. So say, for example, you do your treatment 2 weeks from now, then the next one will be 12 weeks after that, then 12 weeks after that, meaning within 6 months with us, you'd be done, if that makes sense. So that's how long the treatment takes. So it does definitely take time, because don't forget, it takes us about 30 days for one cell cycle, and we're retraining the cells. We're not peeling the skin. When you peel the skin, you're taking the top layer of skin away. I'll talk about peels in a second. But here we're actually retraining and re-educating the cells so you get long-term results. And that does take time. That takes many cell cycles. So that's why it takes more time than a peel. If you peel this area, what you're doing is you're taking away the packed keratinocytes, the melanin-packed keratinocytes. So immediately, yes, a reduction in pigmentation because you've taken that top layer of skin away, but you haven't treated the root cause. If you don't slow down that melanin, it's only going to come back again, because the skin is a living organ and cells are just going to keep coming to the surface. So until you treat that cause, all you're actually doing is taking away, number one, the protection of a very delicate area. And number two, it can even lead to fine lines later, because the skin is so thin there and you're causing quite a lot of trauma.
Yes.
Something that's only 0.3 millimeters to 0.5 millimeters thick. So I would just... I personally, especially things like glycolic acid, where the molecule is so small, the AHA molecule is so small and flies through the skin and can burn the skin. I'm not a fan.
Yes, I do.
Yes. That's my I'm sorry. I feel like some people.
No, I'm so sorry. I mean, geez, you've done like thousands of successful treatments. Why are you saying sorry? And then I noticed that you also you like retinaldehyde. I know it's a gentle form. Like, are you? What are your thoughts on retinaldehyde versus retinol?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's 20 times as potent as retinol with zero irritation. Anything that is that type of chemical profile, I will always consider for skin of color, because we can't afford to burn. Imagine me, I've done 30,000 cases of pigmentation for skin of color with no burns. To do that, you have to be very careful. Every single ingredient you look at has to have no irritation profile. And that's what I love about retinaldehyde. In addition, it's only one step away from retinoic acid. So you're pretty much getting majority of the benefit that you would get from retinoic acid with zero side effects. For me, it's a no-brainer. I feel like it should be in all the products. I don't know why it's not. I do actually know why it's not, because retinaldehyde is extremely expensive.
Extremely expensive. Yes, yeah.
So I use it. I manage to use it in all my products, and it costs me about £10,000 per 20 grams. It's incredibly expensive compared to retinol, which is very cheap. And that's why I sell a cream that's £50, for example. I don't know how many rand £50. How much is £50 in rand?
I don't know now. Rand is it's 50 times like 18 or 19 rand or 20 rand. So let's say 5 times 2 is what, like 1,000 rand.
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's not so cheap.
Okay, yeah. So £50 cream, you are very unlikely to find retinaldehyde in it, because of £50 equals only about £3 of active ingredient. The rest is all gone on marketing, on wholesaler costs, on retail costs, on packaging, rent, everything else. There's only about £3 in it. So about 6% basically of what you're spending is what goes on the actives. Does that make sense? And so retinaldehyde is hardly ever going to be found in a product because it's just so expensive, But I do feel like
there is one from the States. There's only one that I know of. It's a DermaQuest product, and they brought it in for people that are not, for any other reason, but people that are sensitive to retinol. That's the only one we have. So yeah, but also the amount.
I think Medicaid does one as well, but it's very rare. I feel like it's really dark.
Yes, no, you're right. People think it's.
Where's the light?
Okay. What's wrong, Vanita?
I feel like it's very dark in my room.
No, I brought, we're on lockdown, and at the practice we've got ring lights, so I brought a ring light home. So I'm heading that home, and I'm like, this thing is so awesome. So that's why it's so bright. Yeah, I've got an actual ring light in my bedroom. So, and now what was I going to ask you? Oh, so tell me, you've got something, that's so difficult to treat. We do get asked this quite a bit, is lips. Darkening of lips. So you've got this, it's new, a cool new thing for lips. Tell me about your lip stuff.
Oh, I am so excited. I can't even tell you. So basically, I've been working on this for years, and I've been for years as well, because the lips, the epidermis is very thin on the lips, and it's literally one cell thick. So you have to be very careful. And all the treatments for pigmentation of the lips have just basically been scrubs. Again, taking the top layer of skin away like a chemical peel, and it temporarily looks brighter, and then you leave it and pigmentation will come back again. But also every time you're doing it, you're irritating the melanocytes. So I just thought there must be a better way. And those are sorts of products I like to make, is when we need something and no one is looking at it and no one is putting the time into it. And so I thought, I will try and crack it. But again, there's a reason why no one's done it. It's because it's a very difficult thing to do. And I've used 14 tyrosinase inhibitors. I really want to go in powerful for lip.
Wow. Okay.
Often it's been there for decades. When people want to get their lips treated, it'll be because they've had it for 20 years, and it's been getting worse.
Yes.
So a mild treatment is never going to work. So basically, I created a 3-step home kit that you can use globally. And that basically consists of your lip scrub, which has tyrosinase inhibitors in it. So it goes in immediately. Then it's got a lip mask, which you apply 2 to 3 times a week. And then your lip balm, which you apply every night. So basically, you are bombarding your lips with tyrosinase inhibitors, but it's quite a soothing product as well. So it shouldn't irritate your skin, which is very important, again, for our lips especially.
Yeah, because I can tell people will be like every single day with the scrub and the mask and twice a day.
So this launches in 8 weeks' time. We've just passed all our lab tests. So that's actually what I want to announce. We passed all our lab tests, passed our clinical trials.
Yay!
I know, I'm so happy. And so I'm literally getting all the packaging manufactured now. And for me, it's really important to be conscious of the environment. So I've got all glass packaging and paper.
Yes.
And so we should hopefully be ready to sell in 8 weeks' time. So if anyone wants to sign up, you can just DM me and I'll send you the link to sign up. And basically, I'm going to make as much as I can and pass it to the people on the list first and then send it out to everybody else.
Okay, great. So we'll be looking out for that. I'm sure I'm on that list. I'm sure I spam the DMs quite a and then, besides UV radiation, I know, we just briefly touched on high energy visible blue light. And now that most of us are not really, here the lockdown's supposed to be strict. Not everyone adheres to it. So I know in the UK you can still go walk your dog and jog, and here we're not allowed to. So we have to stay at home. And a lot of people like us now, we're with our screens and, Zoom meetings and all of that. There's, such an impact in terms of, high energy visible light. And I think now it's becoming known the damaging effects on the skin. And I know, we went to a SkinCeuticals thing, and then they said to us there that high energy visible light has an 18 times more detrimental effect on darker skins than lighter skins. And another thing, when mainly patients with the melasma, they have to be so careful with heat. I've actually got a patient who only showers with cold water, and she's actually seen an improvement. And a patient who's been a patient of mine for quite a while, and she does well, but she's a runner. And because of that intense oxidative stress of the running, it's always, but she accepted it like this is the best she's going to get. She won't give up running. There's so many factors that come into it. So, in terms of what do you think now while we're at home with our screens, what can we do to reduce besides antioxidants and all of that? Is there anything else that's useful to prevent, So
the number one question I'm being asked a lot right now is, I'm at home. Do I need to wear sunblock?
Yes. Yeah.
And UV is coming through our windows. And I guarantee this summer, everyone's pigmentation is going to get worse because everyone is sitting at home thinking, I don't need to wear sunblock. So yes. I do feel like every clinician out there is going to see a lot more pigmentation after isolation because of that one reason, I feel like that is definitely the number one cause of pigmentation getting worse. Yes, all other energy, light energy, is not good for our skin. When we're cooking, I'm always conscious. When you open the oven and you get that
yes.
right in your face. You're making the fish fingers and thinking, I'm melasma. So, stand back from the heat. That's definitely what I do. When I wash my face, if you've seen my skincare routine, I always wash my face with cold water for 2 full minutes, morning and night. The other mistake that I see that I'm actually really shocked about is people are not double cleansing in the morning. Now, if you've worn a lot of actives at nighttime, especially oil-based actives, washing your face with soap and water is not going to cut it, because what's going to happen is you're going to still have oil on the skin. UV from the through the window is still going to hit your skin, and you're going to get thermal energy being retained on your skin. So double cleansing in the morning is essential. I don't think enough people know about this. And the other mistake that I've been seeing recently is people wearing oils during the day, which does not make any sense. People say, oh, I'll wear avocado oil or coconut oil.
Coconut oil, yes, yeah.
I mean, nighttime is great. It's non-comedogenic. It's got a low percentage of polyunsaturated fat. It's hydrating. It's great at melting your makeup. And so, yes, wear your cold-pressed coconut virgin oil at night, but definitely never, ever, ever wear it in the morning. It's such a huge mistake. It's just asking for trouble. It's worse than going out without sunblock on, because you're attracting all the heat of the world onto your face, and you just can't afford to when you've got melasma.
I mean, with men, we're seeing more men now also exhibiting melasma, and I thought it would be because of, that we eat, there's soy in everything, phytoestrogens, and everything comes in plastic packaging. So like those xenoestrogens, what is happening? And I saw one of your patients, it was a male patient with the glasses on. Besides our lifestyle changes, what else is happening so that now men are exhibiting signs of melasma?
Do you know what? I feel in my history, I think that men have actually always had melasma. Even the older generation have had it, but they haven't been so conscious about how they look. And culture is changing, where men now feel more confident to go and get cosmetic treatment done. I'm definitely finding for Dark Circles Clinic that 50% of my clients are men, which I really did find shocking. I didn't think that was going to happen, but men don't get to wear makeup like women do. They don't get to cover up their melasma and their dark circles. And so, the way Instagram is and the way social media is, you're looking at these perfect photos of these perfect human beings, and you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're thinking, like,
even though people know their filters and photos, I think it still triggers people into thinking, what they look like. And also, the whole advent of selfies and how you look so not so great in a selfie. So and I think that's also pushed people to see cosmetic help.
And now they're doing Zoom, and all they're looking at is their own face the whole day.
And people look like the crews. I was telling my husband, nobody looks decent on Zoom. I think a lot of, because a lot of people just do the audio, so you don't have to see what they look like at home and what everything around them looks like. So,
do nothing for my skin or anyone's skin. Those cameras are like, just stay away.
Yes.
You don't look like that. You don't look like that.
Sure. So thank you so much, Vanita. This was so informative. I mean, there's still 1,000 questions everywhere. I'm sure we're going to have you on again.
Did you ask me about glutathione? Did you want me to touch on?
Oh, yes. Sorry, let me get my notes. And body lightening. As well as glutathione. So I don't know what it is like in the UK. So I know in Asia and also here in South Africa. So it's obviously not, not FDA approved, and people say immune boosters, and it is immune boosting. It's an amazing master antioxidant, but they also, we're not supposed to punt it as a skin brightening or skin lightening treatment. And it is very common to use here. And I know it is part of almost like a side effect of glutathione. How popular is it in the UK? What are your thoughts on glutathione use intravenously as a supplement? I know it's not well, it's like sublingually and also topically. What are your views on glutathione?
So I did a bit of research on this actually. So basically, it's not really that well used in this country. I think the culture in this country is not about skin lightening. It's different in Africa. I think in Africa, I get asked about skin lightening a lot. In this country, don't really get asked about it very much. I think in India, they ask about it a lot. In the US, they don't want to even talk about the word skin lightening. So I do feel like it's a cultural thing in different countries. There are different connotations as well with skin lightening.
Yes.
It's not such a big thing, I think, in this country. I think here, hyperpigmentation really is the number one issue when it comes to skin of color, a lot more than skin lightening. So there is that. But basically, there's 3 ways of taking glutathione. So glutathione is a very powerful antioxidant, as you said. We don't really understand how it works and why there is any skin lightening with it, if at all. So basically, there's 3 ways. There's oral, topically, and IV. Those are 3 main ways.
Yes.
Now, when I look at the clinical studies, there are very few clinical studies on it. So orally, I found a clinical study on 60 medical students who were given 500 milligrams of glutathione for how many weeks? For 4 weeks. And they only noticed a reduction in pigmentation in 2 out of 6 places on the face. So it's quite a modest reduction. In addition, it's temporary. So unless you carry on taking that tablet, that reduction will go. The second thing is that the bioavailability of oral glutathione is very low.
Yes.
And so as soon as you've digested it, you're not going to get enough to reach your skin. So it's, in my opinion, not actually even worth, to be honest, taking oral glutathione. The second way is through topically. So you think, okay, so if I put it on topically, am I going to get better results? And again, they did a clinical study on how many, it was 30 Filipino ladies, and they did a split-based study. So they did 2% glutathione and 2% with a placebo. And the results, again, were quite modest. Plus, there was no long-term follow-up, and there was a very small sample size. So it's just, there are very few studies, and on top of that, they're not drastic studies that, you would think, 100% that's going to work.
Yes.
And the third thing that I've noticed is when you look at IV glutathione injection studies, there are 0. There's not even one single study on IV glutathione injections lightening the skin.
Yes.
Which is, as scientists, you wouldn't do something unless something's been clinically proven to work. So in addition, there's many things. First of all, is the side effects list is huge. It disrupts your thyroid, affects your kidneys, your liver. You can get severe skin reactions, Stevens-Johnson syndrome. So there are lots of side effects that can happen. Plus, there's counterfeit glutathione injections out there.
Yes, yeah. So I know there's compounding pharmacies that are only allowed to make injectables. So, but you can buy anything over the internet, I think. So I think a lot of people are doing whatever they want to at home with the glutathione. I know we once went to a lecture where they proposed that what it does is it promotes the formation of not eumelanin, but pheomelanin. So sometimes when you see people that do use a lot of glutathione, they almost look pink. They do lighten up, but they have this little, sort of pink hue. But yeah, it is very popular. It is popular here as an immune booster. There's lots of these. There's lots of IV infusion bars and things. Yeah, but I think as an immune booster, yes. But also sometimes people do sell it as a skin brightener. We're not allowed to say skin lightening here. But I know in Asia, in India, its reuse is rampant.
No, I know. I think a lot of the side effects are happening in Philippines. All you can do is look at the data and then make your own conclusion.
Yes.
And ultimately, as long as we're putting the right information out there, I think we're doing
our
job. I think there are a lot of YouTubers out there and a lot of people who aren't educated who are teaching the wrong thing when it comes to skin lightening. For example, in my clinic, I get so many ladies who are heartbroken who come in, and you can literally see they've been burnt their whole hand by bleaching their hand with hydroquinone, and they got told by a friend, buy this thing from this shop.
These are illegal creams. They contain lead, mercury. They're very cheap. You can get them from, whatever grocery shop or whatever. It's scary. It's scary. So I think, sorry, Vanita?
Once the skin's become very leathery and black, there's nothing you can do at that point. You cannot improve that skin. It is pigmented for life. And I don't know why it tends to happen on hands and feet, but I see it a lot in my clinic, people coming in with pigmentation on hands and feet. those are the things that people are bleaching. I mean, if you're going to start with something, don't start with something so obvious. I mean, do a little bit behind your ear to see if you're going to react, first of all, on anything, on any product. But second of all, definitely don't buy anything that doesn't have ingredients on the back. Nowadays, you know, we're all becoming very educated when it comes to ingredients, percentages, what's good for skin of color.
Yes.
We just have to be careful, you know, because for us, we can't afford to make too many mistakes. You know, you're only going to pigment later.
Oh. Is that the positive message you want to leave? I was going to ask you to leave us with a positive message. Let's end with an upper.
Okay, so here's the positive.
What you're saying is, don't do silly things. I've got a hashtag that says "Be safe, not silly," because sometimes doing these things now will cost you, besides financially, physically, emotionally, mentally later. So yes, just go get some professional help, and yes, but leave us with something super positive.
The positive is that there is a lot for skin of color, and it's all about educating ourselves and empowering ourselves. The thing I don't like is, you know, when you go into a shop and it says anti-aging, you need to understand the ingredients. And then you have the power. The consumer has the power. And for me, that's everything, is educating so that no one makes mistakes. And we get to teach our children the right things to do with their skin. And I do feel like it's definitely going in that direction. I mean, the questions I get asked on my YouTube channel are phenomenal. You know, people asking, okay, so why do you need to double cleanse first thing in the morning? Why is that so important? It's because of the actives that they've been wearing the night before. Or, you know, what order do I need to wear the ordinary products that I've described? You know, how do I layer them? And but vitamin A shouldn't mix with water, so how do I do it? You know, they're very educated with the questions that they're asking, which for me is everything.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vanita. And we are definitely going to ask you to come back soon again, maybe after your lip kit launch. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you. Take care, Doctor.
Okay. You too. Bye-bye. Thanks, Doctor.
50% of my clients are men, which I really did find shocking. I didn't think that was going to happen, but men don't get to wear makeup like women do. They don't get to cover up their melasma and their dark circles. And so, you know, the way Instagram is and the way social media is, you know, you're looking at these perfect photos of these perfect human beings, and, you know, you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're thinking, like,
even though people know their filters and photos, I think it still triggers people into thinking, you know, what they look like. And also, you know, the whole advent of selfies and how you look so not so great in a selfie. So and I think that's also push people to see cosmetic help.
Yeah. And now they're doing Zoom, and all they're looking at is their own face the whole day.
And people look like the crews. I was telling my husband, nobody looks decent on Zoom. I think a lot of, because a lot of people just do the audio, so you don't have to see what they look like at home and what everything around them looks like. So,
do nothing for my skin or anyone's skin. You know, those cameras on your laptop, just stay away.
Yes.
You don't look like that. You don't look like that.
Sure. So thank you so much, Vanita. This was so informative. I mean, there's still 1,000 questions everywhere. I'm sure we're going to have you on again.
Did you ask me about glutathione? Hey? Did you want me to touch on
yes. Sorry, let me get my notes. And body lightening.
Yeah.
As well as glutathione. So I don't know what it is like in the UK. So I know in Asia and also here in South Africa. So it's obviously not, not FDA approved, and people say immune boosters, and it is immune boosting. It's an amazing master antioxidant, but they also, we're not supposed to punt it as a skin brightening or skin lightening treatment. And it is very common to use here. And I know it is part of almost like a side effect of glutathione. How popular is it in the UK? What are your thoughts on glutathione use intravenously intravenously as a supplement? I know it's not well, it's like sublingually and also topically. What are your views on glutathione?
So I did a bit of research on this actually. So basically, it's not really that well used in this country. I think the culture in this country is not about skin lightening. It's different in Africa. I think in Africa, I get asked about skin lightening a lot. In this country, don't really get asked about it very much. I think in India, they ask about it a lot. In the US, they don't want to even talk about the word skin lightening. So I do feel like it's a cultural thing in different countries. There are different connotations as well with skin lightening.
Yes.
It's not such a big thing, I think, in this country. I think here, hyperpigmentation really is the number one issue when it comes to skin of color, a lot more than skin lightening. So there is that. But basically, there's 3 ways of taking glutathione. So glutathione is a very powerful antioxidant, as you said. We don't really understand how it works and why there is any skin lightening with it, if at all. So basically, there's 3 ways. There's oral, topically, and IV. Those are 3 main ways.
Yes.
Now, when I looked at the clinical studies, there are very few clinical studies on it. So orally, I found a clinical study on 60 medical students who were given 500 milligrams of glutathione for how many weeks? For 4 weeks. And they only noticed a reduction in pigmentation in 2 out of 6 places on the face. So it's quite a modest reduction. In addition, it's temporary. So unless you carry on taking that tablet, that reduction will go. The second thing is that the bioavailability of oral glutathione is very low.
Yes.
And so as soon as you've digested it, you're not going to get enough to reach your skin. So it's, in my opinion, not actually even worth, to be honest, taking oral glutathione. The second way is through topically. So you think, okay, so if I put it on topically, am I going to get better results? And again, they did a clinical study on how many, it was 30 Filipino ladies, and they did a split phase study. So they did 2% glutathione and 2% with a placebo. And the results, again, were quite modest. Plus, there was no long-term follow-up, and there was a very small sample size. So it's just, there are very few studies, and on top of that, they're not drastic studies that, you would think, 100% that's going to work.
Yes.
And the third thing that I've noticed is when you look at IV glutathione injection studies, there are 0. There's not even one single study on IV glutathione injections lightening the skin.
Yes.
Which is, as scientists, you wouldn't do something unless something's been clinically proven to work. So in addition, there's many things. First of all, is the side effects list is huge. It disrupts your thyroid, affects your kidneys, your liver. You can get severe skin reactions, Stevens-Johnson syndrome. So there are lots of side effects that can happen. Plus, there's counterfeit glutathione injections out there.
Yes, yeah. So I know there's compounding pharmacies that are only allowed to make injectables. So, but you can buy anything over the internet, I think. So I think a lot of people are doing whatever they want to at home with the glutathione. I know we once went to a lecture where they proposed that what it does is it promotes the formation of not eumelanin, but pheomelanin. So sometimes when you see people that do use a lot of glutathione, they almost look pink. They do lighten up, but they have this little, sort of pink hue. But yeah, it is very popular. It is popular here as an immune booster. There's lots of these. There's lots of IV infusion bars and things. Yeah, but I think as an immune booster, yes. But also sometimes people do sell it as a skin brightener. We're not allowed to say skin lightening here. But I know in Asia, in India, its reuse is rampant.
No, I know. I think a lot of the side effects are happening in Philippines. All you can do is look at the data and then make your own conclusion.
Yes.
And ultimately, as long as we're putting the right information out there, I think we're doing our job. I think there are a lot of YouTubers out there and a lot of people who aren't educated who are teaching the wrong thing when it comes to skin lightening. For example, in my clinic, I get so many ladies who are heartbroken who come in, and you can literally see they've been literally burnt their whole hand by bleaching their hand with hydroquinone, and they got told by a friend, buy this thing from this
Yes.
shop that's got
these are illegal creams. You know, they contain lead, mercury. They're very cheap. You can get them from, you know, whatever grocery shop or whatever. Yeah, no, it's scary. It's scary. So I think, you know, sorry, Vanita?
Once the skin's become very leathery and black, there's nothing you can do at that point. There is no, you cannot improve that skin. It is pigmented for life. And I don't know why it tends to happen on hands and feet, but I see it a lot in my clinic, people coming in with pigmentation on hands and feet. Those are the things that people are bleaching. I mean, if you're going to start with something, don't start with something so obvious. I mean, do a little bit behind your ear to see if you're going to react, first of all, on anything, on any product. But second of all, definitely don't buy anything that doesn't have ingredients on the back. Nowadays, you know, we're all becoming very educated when it comes to ingredients, percentages, what's good for skin of color.
Yes.
We just have to be careful, you know, because for us, we can't afford to make too many mistakes. You know, you're only going to pigment later.
Oh. Is that the positive message you want to leave? I was going to ask you to leave us with a positive message. Let's end with an upper.
Okay, so here's the positive.
What you're saying is, don't do silly things. I've got a hashtag that says "Be safe, not silly," because sometimes doing these things now will cost you, besides financially, physically, emotionally, mentally later. So yes, just go get some professional help, and yes, but leave us with something super positive.
The positive is that there is a lot for skin of color. And it's all about educating ourselves and empowering ourselves. The thing I don't like is, you know, when you go into a shop and it says anti-aging, you need to understand the ingredients. And then you have the power. The consumer has the power. And for me, that's everything, is educating so that no one makes mistakes. And we get to teach our children the right things to do with their skin. And I do feel like it's definitely going in that direction. I mean, the questions I get asked on my YouTube channel are phenomenal. You know, people asking, okay, so why do you need to double cleanse first thing in the morning? Why is that so important? It's because of the actives that they've been wearing the night before. Or, you know, in what order do I need to wear the ordinary products that I've described? You know, how do I layer them? And, but vitamin A shouldn't mix with water. So how do I do it? You know, they're very educated with the questions that they're asking, which for me is everything.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vanita. And we are definitely going to ask you to come back soon again, maybe after your lip kit launch. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Hey to Laura.
Take care, Doctor.
Okay. You too. Bye-bye. Thanks, Doctor.